Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly football weather forecast as we go over the latest games coming up for today and how the weather will impact them. This, of course, is contingent on whether or not the Tennessee Titans will infect the rest of the league with their epic stupidity and irresponsibility. But we'll get to that in just a moment because we already had one game that's going to be postponed. That'd be the Patriots versus the Broncos. So that's been moved to next week, and now those teams get a bye this week because they had one positive case for each team this morning. But it looks like that's been isolated, but they just want to be careful. Meanwhile, the Titans are just kind of like the drunk uncles of the NFL right now, just running around creating havoc. We don't know whether they're actually going to play on Tuesday, but we're going to base this on the idea that they are as of this second. We'll see. I'm checking Twitter every 5 seconds to see if that's been updated. But let's talk about the games that are going to be impacted by the weather. And we're going to focus on the Mid-Atlantic for the 1 p.m. games. The Bengals versus the Ravens and the Rams versus Washington are going to be some very interesting games. Now, the Bengals game is going to be a lot of fun because the Bengals are kind of gaining their offensive identity, and they're getting better and better. And the Ravens, well, they're one of the best teams in the AFC if you put the Chiefs on an off week, which, they already beaten the Ravens, but we'll get to the Chiefs in a moment. So this is going to be a very interesting game, setting up for Bengals versus Ravens, and of course we have Rams versus Washington, with the rain maybe giving a little bit better opportunity for Washington to maybe sneak off a win versus a far superior team that is the Rams. So it's going to be a very rough period of weather for both teams. Very heavy rainfall. As you can see, we have very heavy rain lifting up into the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore metropolitan areas already. And so that's going to have an impact on the running game, the passing game, and the kicking game. Poor visibility. You're going to get pretty much kind of a mud bowl sitting up here with the turf getting pretty roughed up here with this heavy rainfall. And some of this rain is going to be featuring some pretty intense downpours because you remember you have kind of a tropical feel to this rainfall. So that is going to have a very interesting impact on the 1 p.m. games. Everyone else during the 1 p.m. games will pretty much have no impact whatsoever from the weather. I'm sure the Raiders wish that the weather was going to impact the Chiefs. Maybe that might have given them a chance, but no, they have no chance. No chance at all. I'm already telling you that pick already. They have no chance. Done. So let's talk about the 4 p.m. games. No real impact from the weather. You got the Dolphins going to the 49ers. Not really much of an impact there. Colts versus Browns. Tranquil weather conditions for the most part. Maybe a little breezy, but not too much. And then the Giants versus the Cowboys. No weather whatsoever. No weather impacts whatsoever. The 8 p.m. game, Vikings versus the Seahawks. There is rain already starting to push into the Pacific Northwest. That rain is going to get heavier and steadier, and it's going to be kind of an onshore flow into the Pacific Northwest. So it's going to be cool, raw, wet. So definitely a rather wet game, that is for sure. The Monday night game, for now, Chargers versus Saints. No impacts because they're cowards and they play in a dome, which they should never do. Football should be played outside, not in a dome. But that's your point. Okay, then we got the Bills versus Titans. For now, we'll see if this sticks. This is a Tuesday night game and no impacts are expected at this time. Let's talk about my picks. Well, we already have one pick that was lost on Thursday. I thought that Tampa Bay might eke out versus Chicago and flipped up the other way where Chicago eked out versus Tampa Bay. It was a close game as I thought it was going to be, but I kind of give a little bit more push to Tampa Bay out of respect for the quarterback that was there that I shall not name. But he let me down because that's what he does. Now that he's not in New England anymore, now he's just a big whiny baby who doesn't know how many downs there are in a game. You're done. I no longer pick you. Goodbye. Now, Atlanta versus Carolina. I like Carolina beating this game. I think Atlanta's just lost at this point. They don't know what they're doing. I'm going to go with Carolina. Kansas City versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders can move to Las Vegas. They can move to Tahiti. They can move to Japan. It doesn't matter. The Chiefs are going to beat them. So I'm going big on the Chiefs here, basically dominating this game. And by the way, their defense is getting better and their offense hasn't even clicked yet. Think about that. Okay, now Arizona versus the Jets. I'm sorry, Jet fans. I don't know if they're going to win a game. I really don't. Arizona's going to hand them one again. I'm sorry. And look, I know a lot of Jet fans. I feel for you. I'm a Mets fan too. So if you're a Jets and a Mets fan, there should be like a call line and just like some therapy help, because that's just horribly rough. So I'm sorry, Jet fans, but I don't see a win here at all. Maybe one day maybe something crazy will happen, but there's going to have to be something crazy to happen for the Jets to win. So, for example, if a sinkhole opened up underneath the team that they were playing, which happens to be Arizona today, that could give them a chance to win. And they are playing in the Meadowlands, and weird things can happen. So maybe that's how they could win, but I don't see it. Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia. I really like Pittsburgh's defense, and I don't like Philadelphia's quarterback. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh on that one. Los Angeles versus Washington. I definitely like Los Angeles here on this one. Even with the rain and just the ugly weather, I think they're going to be better. Baltimore versus Cincinnati. I'm going to give it to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is going to upset Baltimore here. And I thought that even before the rain situation. I just really like their vibe right now going into this game. And I think they're going to surprise. Houston versus Jacksonville. Look, Houston, they fire their coach. There's fighting on the team. There's all sorts of insanity going on. And then you have to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville here. Just because Jacksonville just, at the very least, they seem to be a more put-together team, and they're not infighting. So we'll see what happens there. San Francisco versus Miami. I just think that San Francisco is a better team, so I'm going to go with that. Although I don't be surprised if Miami puts up a big fight, and this game goes down to the fourth quarter and the last drive. Don't be surprised by that. Indianapolis versus Cleveland. I'm going with Cleveland, but I could definitely see Indianapolis pulling this off. This is kind of one of those 50-50 things, but I'm going to side with Cleveland on this. I think that they're just playing a little bit better, but we'll see how that works out. Giants versus Dallas. Now, I was thinking initially that Dallas was going to beat the Giants here, but then again, you're talking about Dallas here. I think that Dallas will give the Giants their first win of the season, because that's kind of what Dallas does. That they kind of play to what the team that they're playing against. So if Dallas is playing a really good team, then they play up. If Dallas is playing a poor team, they play down. So I think that this might give the shot for the Giants that they need. So I'm going to give the Giants the game there. Seattle versus Minnesota. That's going to be a fun game. I'm going to go with Seattle, though. I just think that I really like the vibe in Seattle. I think that their offensive line is doing really well, and I think they're going to pull off this game. Again, New England versus Denver has been postponed to next week. We'll touch on that going forward. They both have a bye now. New Orleans versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Come on, really? Look, I know New Orleans has problems, but they can beat the Chargers. So I'm going to go with New Orleans here. Although, watch that young quarterback for the Chargers. I really, really like that guy. That guy is, I forgot what his name was because it's inconsequential because he's in the Chiefs division. But watch him. He's really good and he's mobile. And I think he sees things down the field, but he makes rookie mistakes. So that, I think, is going to give New Orleans the leverage there. Especially with their defense. And then Tennessee versus Buffalo. I will no longer pick Tennessee to win anything. The Tennessee Titans could play the Jets. I'll pick the Jets. The Tennessee Titans can play a Pop Warner team. I'll pick the Pop Warner team because the Tennessee Titans, for what they've done, for their irresponsibility, okay, with COVID, which we've all seen documented, in my opinion, they should be forfeited for the whole season. That's just my opinion. No, look, you know what you have to do. You know, it's not going to be 100%. No one's ever going to be 100%. But you shouldn't at least go out and put yourself in that position to get infected and to bring this disease into your locker room, which is essentially what they've been doing. So I'm going to go with Buffalo here. I think Buffalo is going to take them to the woodshed and beat them like they should. And then after that, I think that the Tennessee Titans should forfeit the rest of their season. That's what I would do with the NFL. Get them out and reduce the potential of them causing problems for other teams as we go forward. Those are your picks for this week. We'll see how it works out. Last week I did okay. I wasn't all that happy with how I did last week, to be honest with you. I went, let's see here. I went 9-6, which is not my best, but given the last week was really volatile. But I think that this week we'll see how we do. Maybe I get 11. We'll see. Or, they might have to cancel some more games because of Tennessee Titans touch somebody. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful time period watching your games. And as always, stay safe out there.